Hi, everyone. We are the K3. We are K-drama fans just like you. I'm Jen.
I'm Marisa, and thank you for being part of this K-drama coffee break.
We are about to dive in on probably my favorite drama of 2022, Bloody Heart. Marisa.
Jen.
Did you love Bloody Heart as much as I did? I think you did.
I remember it was a Monday, Tuesday show, and it was like, we get to start the week with this show for 6 weeks.
Oh, my God, it was so good. Oh, my God, I loved it so much. It stars LEE JOON, KANG HANNA, and your favorite, Jang Hyuk.
Mm-hmm. I called it Angstalicious.
It was Angstalicious. I just binged it before we did this, and I am not going to lie to you. It was so stressful, the machinations of this court and the story and the politics and the whole thing, that I was just like, oh my God, just let it end. Oh my God, but it was so good. That's so good.
That's right, because we watched it live. So you had, 5 days in between to regroup, resettle, and get prepared for the next 2 episodes.
Exactly.
So binging it, that was a different experience. It seems like
a different experience. Oh my God. So my question for you is, when we were watching it, what were your first thoughts when we were watching?
My first thoughts were that it was beautiful. The cinematography is gorgeous. Like from episode 1, the gardens, the beautiful hanbok, and then it moved into like the bamboo forest and the fireworks.
Oh my God, the fireworks. Like, I don't think we've seen those before. I've seen them since, or maybe I just hadn't noticed them, but the amount of fireworks that were just kind of floating over everything.
Yeah. Just beautiful. Beautiful. We had finished the red sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
And so here we were with another Sageuk. And the vibes were kind of similar at the beginning. Yeah. Like, it wasn't different yet. And I was wondering why KANG HANNA was in this. Because she was a lead, and I think the last time we had really watched her was in Startup as Susie's sister. And so I wasn't quite sure why she was in this. And then as we started moving into episode 2 and 3 and 4, I was like, oh. And then by that point, straight through to the end, she is on par with Itae.
So good. I mean, I'll be honest, and the red sleeve fans out there, please don't yell at us. But Bloody Heart was everything the red sleeve wasn't for me, which was that these were 2 equals and they went at it. And she willingly came into the palace, not willingly at first, but then she made a choice of her own to do it. And she actually originally willingly went in because she was the original crown princess, right? And then chaos ensues and destruction and family annihilation and the whole thing, right? And then she goes into hiding and becomes this amazing woman.
Right.
And then she gets manipulated into going back into the palace. And just watching her kind of own everyone there, it was just so more satisfying to me than what happened in Red Sleeve.
That's right.
Which was that she kind of got manipulated into, she basically gets forced into spending the night with the king, which then therefore makes her become one of his concubines.
Right. So Red Sleeve, it's like she's trying to hold on to the little agencies that she has. But in Bloody Heart, KANG HANNA, she becomes... she's destitute as a child. She's bereft of her family. And yet she grows up into being this very astute businesswoman. She's very political in the sense that she knows how to deal with the wealthy class, but she's so loyal. And this is why it's such a great setup for her entering the palace. She's got the loyalty of people who trust her. And we see it, and it's in this different kind of situation. It's not just like whatever faction it was, or you're born into, or what clan you are in, you're born into, or you're royal or you're not. So, because you had to set up a strong woman, because
oh my God, LEE JOON, please. The one thing I will say before we move on to LEE JOON is the thing that they repeated over and over and over again in this rewatch that I was like, oh, interesting. Jang Hyuk's character Park Gae-won says numerous times that if our girl KANG HANNA's character Yoo Jung had been, her father repeatedly said, if she had been born a boy, she would have been a minister very quickly because that's how smart she is.
Yeah.
And at one point, there's another addendum to that comment, which is that he was afraid of what she could become if she had been born a boy and white. That's why he was glad she was born a girl. So she was already, before all the chaos happened, hardwired to be a power player.
And that's what I love throughout this entire series. And really, it was consistent, is that it was this chess game.
Yeah.
And they even show it there, you know, the
the go board. Yeah.
Go board. Yeah. That it was just and she is equal and
if equal, if not better.
Right.
She owns almost every guy there. She outplays Jang Hyuk's character so badly. I mean, he makes a very big tactical error by bringing her into the palace that he's going to own,
and aligning with her. Yeah.
Oh, it was so juicy.
But it earns
so
his
rich.
respect. Yeah. And because he's like, I have an adversary. I have to say, the cliffhangers in this show were phenomenal. And
oh my god!
Drums,
the drums every time. The violins and the drums at every ending of every episode. I watched, like I said, I just binged it, and it never got old. I was always waiting for them, and I'm like, oh my god, it was so good. It was so good. I was like, I love this show so much. It was so amazing.
So sidebar: this show is on Disney Plus, Asia Pacific. So. And it did not appear on Hulu, and it has not appeared on Disney Plus in the West. So use our Surfshark affiliate code to get your VPN and pair that with your Disney Plus subscription, and you will be able to watch this on Disney Plus Singapore or Hong Kong or Disney Plus Korea. We have instructions. We have little videos because it's so good.
It's so good.
Yes.
You can also use the VPN if you want to go off the grid. We don't recommend that, but there's also that option.
Yeah, because it'll keep your devices safe. Yes.
So if you don't have a Disney Plus subscription and you still want to watch it, we also recommend the VPN to keep your device very safe.
Yeah.
With that sidebar done, LEE JOON.
LEE JOON. So we had just seen him in Bulgasol, which had shades of this, conflicted man, shall we say.
My note in here is that there is not an actor out there, in my opinion, out there today who does tortured better. He does tortured emotion so well. He cries in every episode. And it's always the one eye. I can't tell if it's just his contacts were bothering him, because there were sometimes where I'm like, why is he crying in this scene? And I couldn't tell because just the one eye would be all red and watery, and sometimes a tear would fall, sometimes it wouldn't. But and that voice with the tortured.
Oh my goodness.
His king. The crown prince, the first episode is played by our little psycho from Blind. That's the first time I've seen him, and that's Park Ji Bin. Park Ji Bin. And he's delightful, right? And he's basically just a cocky little crown prince, and he meets our girl, and he's suddenly like, I love her. She can ride a horse, and she tells me that she bosses me around. She must be my queen. Plus, she will help the family and align things and do political issues. And so they bring her in, right? And they never meet. And then he saves her in the thing. And he's just so good. And then he transitions to LEE JOON. And you're just like,
yes, I believe this all.
I believe this.
Yeah.
Because he goes from being kind of this wide-eyed, cocky prince to LEE JOON, tortured soul.
Yes.
And it hit.
Yeah. Because you have Jang Hyuk and Ho Sung-tae. Oh my God. And LEE JOON's in the middle. Yes. But really, like 3 powerhouse actors. Yeah. So it just elevated this show in and
so the opening scene of this show was essentially Jang Hyuk's character and Ho Sung-tae's character basically imploring to the king to depose the crown prince.
Yeah.
And they're all outside the palace, and it's this overhead shot, and you hear the king is dying inside, and he hears the voices calling for it, and then all of a sudden LEE JOON steps in and walks through all of them. And then he goes and talks to his father, and then he comes out and he basically falls to his knees and begs Jang Hyuk for his life in the snow. I've never been so into a show. I was so, oh my God, I was in love with this show from the jump.
Because Lee Joon and Kang Hanna together playing, you know, political machinations for their own survival. And then the revelations that it was you, it was you. But then as they come together and grow apart, and then there's a queen dowager and there's another concubine, it's just so rich in terms of power struggles, which we see often in these Sageuk's, but my goodness, this just, it's the writing. It's the writing and the direction.
Director is Yoo Young-eun, who's a woman, right? And then our writer, Park Pil-jun, is a man.
Usually it's the other way around in K-dramas. But the director is probably best known for Queen of Mystery 1 and 2. So again, a very strong female character, but this was a surprise. And she had an amazing cinematographer because holy cow.
It was gorgeous. Yeah. It was
so beautiful.
Unbelievably gorgeous.
So beautiful.
Okay, so obviously we've been gushing about our first thoughts when we were watching it and all of that. But it's a 16 episode. They're actually, the episodes weren't too long. They're about an hour 5, so they weren't those hour 20s that usually sometimes it makes a very long watch. But what were some of your favorite moments? What were some of your favorite things in this one?
My favorite things, Jang Hyuk.
I knew we were, of course.
Just period.
Just
that's
period.
all.
Yeah.
But his slow burn presence, he like took it down a notch and was just he had his own tempo. And listen, the man can stride through a door like no one else with the robes. I mean, My Country, it was all about Jang Hyuk on a horse with the hair. And this one, it was all about like
his hair like flowing. I remember that. That's right. Yeah.
But in Bloody Heart, it's all about him contemplating, figuring out his next move, and then like striding through a door with his robes.
And then yelling in the most guttural yell ever. His guttural yell is the greatest guttural yell I've ever heard. It's amazing. It could move. It does move armies in every Sageuk I ever watched. And his face just, then you watch it, you could just tell his face like almost like it's gonna explode, like the rage. It's amazing. It's amazing to watch.
Yes, because also his love is the Queen Dowager. He's married and has a son who's also an advisor, but you know, his first love, who he completely manipulates.
Oh my God, that poor woman.
Is the Queen Dowager. So you could see the yearning in his eyes. Oh, but he's such a complex character, you know, because he's bloodthirsty for power.
You know what? It was more bloodthirsty for his country. That was his running theme.
Yeah, not doing everything to keep a tyrant, to not allow a tyrant to be on the throne. But it skewed his judgment, right?
And he created a tyrant in the Queen Dowager.
Yes. Right.
This is a spoiler.
Yeah.
You have to watch it to get there. It's amazing.
Exactly. Man, she was another one.
She, in my personal opinion, the most sympathetic character in the whole show, because she was, in my personal opinion, she was manipulated by love as a young girl, which was amazing. It was hilarious trying to watch them make Jang Hyuk. And now, mind you, she's actually quite much younger than Jang Hyuk, but Park Ji-young looked like they're like 16. Hilarious. Yeah. But a young girl that is in love and just wants to marry her, you know, officer boyfriend, whatever, and go live in the countryside and make him dinner. And he's basically like, babe, I need you to become basically the Queen Dowager and become a royal concubine. And she's like, wait, what? And then she's like, anything for you. And then it warps her brain.
Yeah, completely. Man, that moment where she set the palanquin on fire, that was unbelievable.
It was just, I felt bad for her when it came at the end of the movie. At the end of the show, I was just like, oh, pumpkin, sorry.
That other moment where she fell into the lake with him, it was gorgeous.
The cinematography was just
unbelievable. So beautiful. But like heartbreaking at the same time.
Yeah.
Packed a wallop.
It did.
For sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would have to say probably my favorite thing, there's numerous things that I really enjoy, but I think just we've already kind of touched on it, but just the power moves and the fact that our two main leads were equals.
Yes.
And even when one made a move that made you think one thing, the other made another move. And it was just these counter moves for 16 episodes, even to the very end. And they're just these equal powerhouses throughout the whole thing. At no point, there's not really a big power imbalance ever. And it was so rich to watch.
Well, that's the thing, because even to the end, it's not like everyone just, some K-dramas, you get to episode 16 and things just kind of has settled down. No.
16 was still like, oh. I mean, it was a little quieter because choices had been made and things were happening. And we're not going to totally give it away because you need to go watch it.
Yeah.
But you were still like, we'll do a quick spoiler thing. Okay, so I'm going to tell you all. I'm going to talk to Marisa about a quick spoiler that I'm curious about. So if you don't want to hear about it,
skip forward.
Skip forward now. The royal concubine, they like set her up for almost like a season 2 because they suddenly made this interesting not pivot, but suddenly the brat has grown up and suddenly is going to make power moves. And she says to her father as he's being exiled, I will bed the king no matter what to save our family. And then they do like that. They start like focusing on her for the last 10 minutes, like setting up this weird side story. I couldn't tell if it was, I kind of felt like they were giving us that to be like, this story is not ending here.
Yes.
But it also was an interesting piece. It was interesting to give away that much real estate at the end to a girl who basically was just a hothead and a brat throughout the entire show. Yeah,
I did find that curious, but I'm also wondering that, maybe for once they wouldn't just kind of shove this side character aside and that they would actually give her some like a wrap up, not a wrap up, but a wrap up worthy of what they built through the entire season.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm not sure though.
But
she annoyed me.
She was awful, right? So yeah, it was definitely one of those situations where I was like, interesting. It seemed like, I mean, if you want, I'm not sure I'd want a season 2 of this because it was such a concise, it was such a concise 16 episodes, but it was kind of like that thing where if you were hoping for a season 2, they definitely teed up more palace intrigue with our royal concubine. So yeah. So since we're still on spoiler alert right here, why don't we, because we had a bunch of people who were there with our lives, but I had to go away to Vermont and we were not able to discuss the final episode in completion. So we will spoil everything right here as well. So the finale, what were you satisfied with the finale?
Completely satisfied. Completely satisfied. Yeah, because no one, even though people were now in the positions that they are going to be in for the rest of their lives, there was no relaxing.
No.
Jang Hyuk is gone.
Yes.
Ho Sang-tae is out.
Yep.
But now there are new political factions to deal with and keep in check. And, it's a new board that has to be set. But the relationship between our king and queen.
I was so satisfied by it. Oh my God. That final voiceover where he's like, my love, my queen, my rival. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. And she's just like, fuck yeah. 2 super close-ups, roll credits. I was like, oh my God. It was like the greatest finale I've ever seen. It was just so satisfying. And I've watched it like twice now. And it still was so satisfying. Right?
Yeah, it was worthy of the whole show we had watched.
Absolutely. Oh God, it was so good. All right. And now we're back. Do you have any quibbles on the show?
I don't think so.
No. It's one of the few shows that I like. The only quibble, if I had to dig deep for a quibble, is that is often we've talked, I think you even mentioned it earlier. A lot of times you get to a certain point in a show, things have kind of wrapped up and gotten our couple has got it's the moonlighting effect where our couple is together and now what do you do with them for the next 6 episodes, right? And I did find that there's kind of, especially in a rewatch, and maybe it was because it was a rewatch, I kind of knew what the beats were so I could kind of skip through, but there was a lot of like back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, but it also, when we were watching it, was so dynamic. So I can't say that it's a quibble per se, but you could tell that they were kind of trying to get to that final beat, which was the big reveal at the end. So, but it's so minor.
So minor.
It's so minor. It's so minor.
So, should you watch?
Yes, absolutely. No question.
This caliber of cast and the cinematography and the director and the writing, it's just all there.
It's just all there. It's just, it was episode to episode, it was tight, it was engaging, it was everything you want in a show. It's got the romance, it's got the political intrigue, it's got some fear stuff, and it's got everything.
I would have to say also, there are a lot of very strong women in this drama.
What I did want to talk about,
and a lot of different there are a lot of characters, but they're all fighting for their own survival. And what's really great is that they all do so many unexpected things, and their different loyalties, and their different alliances, and their different kind of levels of experience with these kinds of machinations. So you've got the Queen Dowager.
Yep.
You've got the other concubine. You've got the left minister's wife.
Oh, yeah.
You've got Lady Yu's, her friend more than a servant who she rescued.
Yep.
That was heartbreaking.
That was.
And then Lady Yu's first lady in waiting. And all of them, I think, just made such a richer, more interesting drama.
Well, it also, one other thing that struck me when I was watching it was, first and foremost, the women. As much as the men control the politics, I have never, like, the amount of times dudes were talking to their sisters about when they're going to consummate their marriage. It was such a commodity.
Yes.
Like, and I know that it is, and I know that that's the whole thing, but the power that the women held in certain aspects of that and how they wielded it was fascinating.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, like the Queen Dowager, like the thing that really struck me, especially on this binge, because I said it was like really intense to binge it, was like at one point she was just like, I'm so bored. Like they just sit around all day. And when you're bored, you start doing shit that maybe you shouldn't do.
Yes, that's right. You start playing with people's lives.
Yes. And I noticed that. It was really fascinating to see it from that side. Like the women, like having such an insight to how the women and their power plays played out. Like that's what I really enjoyed.
That was such a genius revelation, because it's like, once you've picked your flowers for the day, like what else is there to do? And we so often we just see so many dramas where it's just, they're just manipulating people. But this is like Les Liaisons Dangereuses. Like they're so bored that they start screwing around with like young women to see who will fall in love.
Let's be honest, they're also pretty young.
Yeah, that's true.
Usually they're pretty young, because I mean, people don't live that old, right? So I mean, they're just kind of like, they're like 22 and they're bored, and they're like, let's go fuck with that person. Why? Because I can. I'm the Queen Dowager. Like, and it was kind of what that was. And it was so well played out to see how if you took one path, how that played out. If you took another path, how that played out. If you took this path, how that played out. And it was all the women, like the dudes all kind of were like, oh, we got outplayed.
Yes.
We got outplayed every time. Like every single dude got outplayed by one of the women.
Exactly. But whereas because Kang Hanna is our heroine, what she has is loyalty and love for people and friends and family. And
that was the coolest thing. And that's the one thing that was kind of made you kind of sad, maybe not the right word, for John Hyuk's characters. He's like, oh my God, she's the queen we've always wanted. Damn. I hate her, but I love her so much. Like, I will do this. Like, it was just such a great moment. It was just, you should watch it.
Just watch it.
You just watch it.
Yes.
We love this show.
Yes.
So yes. So there it is. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us and letting us gush about the Bloody Heart a little bit late. We apologize, but we did it.
Yes.
And we are the K3. I'm Jen.
I'm Marisa, and you're part of the K3. Thank you for taking a KDrama coffee break with us. We'll see you next time. Bye.